Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Opinion Machine. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be looking at Super Mario Odyssey, or as I like to call it, the game that's taken up all of my time recently. So for those who don't know, Opinion Machine is just a show where myself and the other guys can just chat about thoughts and feelings on stuff going on in the game industry. So today I really want to just talk about Super Mario Odyssey, my overall feelings with it, stuff I like about it, stuff I don't like, and just sort of explain how this game gives me mixed feelings. Right off the bat, you've probably seen that this game has been given hugely amazing high scores. I can confidently say that the game deserves every single one of the high scores, the 8s, the 9s, the 10s, all that sort of stuff. And there's a very good reason for that. This game basically, like Zelda, you know, these staple games that Nintendo make are just that good. They are as good as you'd expect them. They have the quality, the polish, the ideas, the creativity, all of that stuff in them. And Odyssey does one thing wonderful, and that basically makes everything happy and smiley, or at least gives you that feeling of joy when you play it. And the setup and everything this time around is done in a way that fun experience to just pick up and play, or sit down for long sessions, lots of nods. It does everything, you know, this is a game that basically nods to every other Mario game in the series ever, in so many different ways. First off, let me say, before I go right deep into this, I just want to say that there probably will be some spoilers in this, because of the things I want to talk about. You know, I will probably mention when I get to certain points what I'm going to spoil, or at least what to me is spoilers. So, but let's start off with my overall feelings about this game. Now, for anybody who knows me or has listened to this show before, knows that I am not a fan of Super Mario 64. And Odyssey is kind of that sequel to Super Mario 64 and to Super Mario Sunshine, and bits and bobs from the other 3D Mario games. Now, I hated 64 because it took away everything I loved about the 2D platforming Marios and the elements that, you know, you start a level, you end a level. Levels have their own gimmicks. They're not overly long, but they have a fairly decent theme. They're well designed. And 64 took that idea and threw it out the window and decided to have a hub world and levels that were more like playgrounds, very sandbox-esque, and like added things like punching and kicking and all these other things. It didn't resonate well with me. Sunshine I played a bit of, I kind of enjoyed that a bit more. And then it wasn't really till the Galaxy games came along that I got into this sort of 3D Mario gameplay. And I mean, Galaxy is kind of playground-esque, but it's a bit more linear. It does have that kind of point-to-point gameplay that I really enjoy about the Mario series. Really, with Odyssey, when I saw it and I saw the trailers and everything beforehand, I was not excited for this game at all. I was like, this is not the Mario game for me. This is not the game that I want to play. I don't like being dumped into a world and having to do multiple objectives into one world. That's not fun. That's not what Mario's ever been about. To me, it's about the platforming, the skillfulness of the platforming, the lovely difficulty curve that they get throughout the game, wonderful gimmicks that you get per levels, and so on and so forth. So, as you can imagine, this not only being like the sequel to that playground style of Mario, it also was, you know, it doesn't really resonate with me with everything I saw until we get to not too far away from launch. Started seeing more trailers, started seeing more of the classic platforming. We saw the 2D sections. The stuff that was coming out made me go, okay, maybe this is something I can enjoy. And so I get the game day one, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this seems fun, this seems good. You know, I was having a good time with it, but it wasn't really until, you know, later on in the game when I got to later worlds and kingdoms, which I'll get onto in a bit, when I really started to have fun with it. And then even after that, I was still having more fun with it. And there were little bits that were coming together to make me really start to love this game. And overall now, I can say that I do very much enjoy this game, and I very much love it, and it's up there this year for me, along with Breath of the Wild, in terms of just some of one of the best games I've played this year. It's not without its issues, and it's not without the fact that I still would prefer a more linear Mario, but I can definitely say that this game has won me over with so much charm in it and just wonderful nods to so much stuff. So let's get on to the game itself. Let's talk you through some stuff that I really enjoyed about it, things that I think are worth noting, and then, you know, talk about what I don't like and kind of what I would prefer to see in the next Mario game. So first off, the controls. The wonderful thing about this game is the controls and the movement options that you are given as the player controlling Mario. I love the fact that this game has more movement options than normal. Now, anyone who's played a 3D Mario game, you have all of the standards of this. You have your triple jump, you've got your long jump, you've got your backflip, you've got your side jump, and you've got your wall jump. The only one there, wall jump, feeling a little bit nerfed in this game, but other than that, they're all there, all the staples. Then they add in, as you've probably seen, you have the hat mechanic where you can chuck the hat and capture stuff. But the hat can be used as a platform, but it can also be used to be part of another movement option along with a diving ability. So if you jump and fire out your hat and hold down the hat button, the hat will stay in place, which then allows you to chuck it out, jump it, and use it as an extra height to get slightly further, slightly higher somewhere. What you can do though is jump, chuck the hat out, and then dive. Diving lets you, if you're holding down the hat button, bounce on the hat, fly further forwards, and then dive again. Now this doesn't sound like a lot, it just sounds like an ability to jump further, but when you combine all of these elements together, jumping, backflipping, jumping off a wall, chucking the hat, diving, you can get higher, but you can also get further. And there are points in this game when you realise, especially later on, you can kind of, not cheat things, but actually use more advanced techniques to get around quicker, to get to moons that you wouldn't normally be able to get to. You can do things that a person who with lesser skill, these things aren't required, but you start to realise how smart they've been with the crafting of the controls in terms of your abilities. The other ability they add is the ability to roll. And this goes nicely with the ground pound, it also goes nicely with the long jump, because you can long jump into a roll and that will keep your momentum going, or you can roll and then into a long jump. And that's a lot of fun too. You can get down slopes and stuff much quicker, you can get around quicker in general, and it works beautifully. All in all, the controls of this game are phenomenal. There is only one problem, and I wish this has killed me more times than not. The dive that I was on about, the ability to dive forwards, is tied to a very weird control. It's ground pound and then hat throw. But basically you have to hit the ground pound button while in air and then tap the corresponding button to jump. And this is frustrating for one reason, is that sometimes my combination of hitting those buttons was too quick for the game to register, and sometimes I'd be over a pit and a ground pound, and instead of jumping forwards would then continue to drop down into the hole and die. This killed me multiple times and frustrated the hell out of me, and it's one of my biggest complaints with the game in terms of why would you combine a long jumping type move to a ground pound, which is designed to stop you in midair but also shoot you down towards the ground very quickly. I don't know why that they are tied together in terms of controls. It's very strange. Obviously I got used to it after a while, and for the most part I can nail it 100% of the time now, but I definitely think that it's the wrong mapping of the button, and that is a definite flaw. I would like to see that button changed, or a button that doesn't do anything except for dive. There's so many buttons on the controllers because it's a very simple game really that aren't used. Or even just shake the controller, you know, if you're going to use the waggle controls, let me shake it to do the dive or something. Because, yeah, it was frustrating, and I died more times than I would like to have admitted. And that's another thing. This game, along with these controls, does this thing where your biggest time that you're going to die is falling down a hole. I very rarely died to anything else, except for falling into a pit or falling into lava. It's kind of weird. Because it's that life mechanic, because you can capture enemies, you don't really die to enemies a lot, and I think that's played hugely into this game. So you can find yourself more often than not dying to falling into pit, falling into water, the poison water, falling into things that... just falling into things generally. You will find yourself dying a lot that way, and probably the most. So that's like a little bit on the controls, just to say, just for the most part they feel amazing and stuff like that. I want to talk about kingdoms. Now, before I start, this is probably going to have some spoilers in terms of... I'll be talking about level design, as well as the idea that, you know, I might be spoiling some kingdoms that people haven't got to yet or don't know about, so if that is the case, then I do apologise, but just be prepared for that to happen. In this game, there are, I think, 16 kingdoms in all, one kingdom having multiple parts. For the most part, they're really good, and I enjoy them. But the biggest thing that I take away from this is really and truthfully, it's only 16 locales. 16 places you can visit, and that kind of sucks, because while the tried and true Mario sort of games have the world map and sort of 8 worlds, and they're usually the same thing, I like the idea of visiting a place and having multiple levels. Now, the way the game kind of gets around it is that you have doors and pipes and stuff that will take you to like challenge rooms and side rooms and stuff that completely change up the sort of what you're doing, and I do appreciate that. But it does kind of suck when you're playing the game and you go to these playgrounds and it's sort of like, oh, if only they were just levels instead. This is how I feel about it. It's all very well running around them, but by the end of the game, you're kind of like, I've seen everything now, and it's not, to me, it's a game that has a lot of replay value, but for a different reason. I can boot up Super Mario Bros. 3 and know a lot of those levels and still have a blast with it to this point now, and just enjoy the gameplay, because it's like, I want to play through those levels again. With Odyssey and the 3D Mario games, like, it's got that replay value, but I don't want to collect that many moons again. This game has, I think, 850 moons or 800 and something, 25 moons to collect throughout the game. I don't want to do this again. Like, I'm almost there. I've got 820 or 830 moons. I'm almost at the end of the game, finishing it up, and I've enjoyed finding them. But that's a huge task. I definitely don't want to do it again, and especially because going back to these kingdoms and going through them and experiencing, I've seen pretty much everything I need to see from most of the kingdoms, maybe apart from the last few. The rest of them I've seen and been around everywhere at this point. And, yeah, obviously I'm 100%ing it, but it is kind of shame that we don't have more, or even just more like unlockable stuff later towards the end of the game when you get those high count moons, but such is life. But let's talk about the highlights of these kingdoms and look at what's great about them. So each kingdom, for the most part, is very different art style on a lot of them, and that kind of works to its advantage. It's weird seeing Mario looking very out of place pretty much wherever you go. So you start off in the Cap Kingdom, which is fairly small, but it's a good playground to mess around with your tools. I don't think it'll be overly memorable, but it's quite fun, all these hat-shaped things everywhere. You then go on to the Cascade Kingdom, which is like a sort of prehistoric, sort of dinosaur-esque looking world. Very, very jolly music. Again, not a huge kingdom, but like very easy to get around. And then after that, you start hitting other kingdoms. You've got the Sand Kingdom, which is this giant desert, which is a lot of fun to play in. You've got the Wooded Kingdom, which is a personal highlight of mine, which is all like forest areas. And then later on we have things like the Lost Kingdom, which is like this lost swamp area, or the Metro Kingdom, which is this city area, very urban. And then you've got like Bowser's Kingdom later on, the Moon, you've got the Cloud Kingdom, you've got the Snow Kingdom, Lakeside, Seaside, all these different places, and they're all for the most part very varied. And the cool thing is that when you first go to them, you don't realise just how much there is to do. Each one has like 60 moons, or apart from a couple, they're fairly high up, the amount of moons you need to get. And most of these places are fun. It's a shame that there's kind of 2 water worlds, because I feel like doing something else would have been better there. The Seaside one's really cool, the Lakeside one's kind of quite small, and it's alright, it's not particularly great. But like I was saying, Wooded Kingdom and the Metro Kingdom and the Sand Kingdom are probably the big highlights here, along with, I think, the Moon. They're the ones I think I had the most fun with. Lost Kingdom is also good. And the reason why those ones are my particular favourites is because they're usually fairly big, but there's a lot to do there, and the levels are very deceiving in terms of, you sort of feel like they're fairly small, you're running around, but actually, there's a lot there. A lot to find, a lot to do, stuff hidden away in every nook and cranny. And they're a pleasure to run around. Even if you just want to do some platforming, they're a pleasure to do that. The Wooded Kingdom took me by surprise, because when I saw the trailer for it originally, I was like, oh my god, like that looks so boring. Not interested in that at all. Until you get to hear the music that hits when you get into the main area of that level. And that is like an absolute highlight, a godsend to me, that it made that place so much more fun running around this area with basically this amazing like orchestral surf rock piece of music. It's so good. You should go look it up on YouTube and listen to it now. It's amazing. It's Wooded Kingdom, Steam Gardens it's called. It's so good. But yes, like the Wooded Kingdom had, because of that musical element, added this whole atmosphere to this level that made it way more fun to me. With the Metro Kingdom, I really enjoyed it because you were running around and bouncing off buildings, and it's inspired by Donkey Kong essentially, and it had such a good theme to it. It's a level that I hope to see will come to Smash Brothers in the future. It was really, really fun. It was very enjoyable, like the fact that there's a lot of verticality, you get very high up in a lot of those buildings. It worked very, very well, and I enjoyed it. Like I was saying as well, as the Sand Kingdom, big area, lots to explore, loads of stuff hidden around. So you can see the theme here is that the bigger the levels, is you're just finding stuff all the time. You're probably not going to find everything until you've gone through it on your first few visits, but absolutely fantastic. Let's look at the music then, because the music to me is always very important in a Mario game, and this game delivers for the most part on a solid soundtrack. Wooded Kingdom is an absolute highlight. The New Donk City Metro Kingdom, absolute highlight. Sand Kingdom, also good. You've got the Seaside Kingdom, has got a really good piece of music. Bowser's Kingdom has good music. Ancient Kingdom's not so great, but for the most part, it's decent. So you're getting a solid soundtrack. It's probably not my favourite soundtrack to a Mario game ever, but it does have some seriously good tunes, and I can't recommend you listen to them enough. They are really, really good, very enjoyable. I just love it, like having those tunes playing, and this game lets you listen to whatever tracks you want when you want once you've completed the main story, which is also another fantastic thing. But there are other things that's really cool, is that you get 8-bit versions of most of the songs. You've seen in the trailers, this game has like a bit where you go into the walls. If you go into the walls when one of your favourite tracks playing, you get an 8-bit version of it. It's phenomenal. It's really fun, and the 8-bit bits are really, really enjoyable. They really mix up the gameplay to more like a classic style, and they're a lot of fun, and some of the ones I came across were so well designed. They just put a huge smile on my face. I don't want to spoil some of these things, but there are ones out there in the Metro Kingdom and in Bowser's Kingdom that I found, and I was just blown away, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, and it really pushed the game up in my books. The other thing about the music is that you will find areas where it's the more atmospheric stuff going on. It doesn't really play. It's almost like each area is like bubbled. You imagine a giant circle. That's where the music plays in. You can kind of walk in and out of it, and it gets louder and quieter depending on how close you are. Very odd, and sometimes it will trigger at weird places. It's just odd sometimes, but for the most part, fantastic soundtrack. A few duffers, but other than that, really good. And they do use some old themes. There are a couple of classic tunes that turned up which I wasn't expecting. One for a bonus game, well, actually both for different bonus games. I was smiling when they came on, so I was very happy about that. Let's talk about visuals before we go on. Visuals in this game are absolutely gorgeous. This is a really bright, colourful game. It's something we don't get in this day and age of shooters and realistic graphics. You can always count on Mario to basically be like, hey, everything's happy and jolly, and it looks amazing. You know, it's not like best hyper-realistic thing ever, but they suit the game so well. You know, you get right down to the nitty-gritty of some things that don't look particularly great, but for the most part, you're running around, you're platforming, everything's clear, you can see what you're doing, everything's really fun, looks great, each kingdom mixes it up with the stuff you're looking at. Brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. Right, I want to get onto one thing, that this is going to be a spoiler section, so if you, again, it's not major spoilers, but it will actually spoil some of the things you can collect in the game. In this game, you can collect different suits, and this is one of the best ideas that Nintendo could have put in this game. The fact that you can spend coins to buy suits to dress Mario up in different costumes, which they do have a use in to getting some moons. But my god, like, I want all of the costumes. I've spent my time collecting as many coins to get all the costumes. And some of the costumes are incredibly cool throwbacks to certain games that Mario's been in. There's one particular suit that I don't want to spoil that one, that I'm not a huge fan of it, but I can see many people being like, oh my god, like it was a really, really good throwback to it. And the collectibles are amazing. You've got like a sombrero and a poncho, you've got like a cowboy thing, you've got Dr. Mario's costume in there, you dress up like a scientist, you can dress up in a rubber ring. And they're just great. They're so much fun. Just seeing Mario run around in these really stupid costumes and really fun costumes. And this aspect of the game made me enjoy the game way more. Just because I liked earning the coins and buying place-specific costumes. And then you've got costumes that you can get with just regular coins. Because you have the two coin currencies. Ones that are always 100 coins to a particular world. And just regular coins that you use to buy other things. And they work really well. Like, the things you can unlock in this, you can like don up the interior of your hat ship, or the Odyssey as it's called, stickers on the outside, all sorts of stuff like that. Lots of fun things to buy with the money, but the costumes themselves are really, really fun. I've just got one of the most expensive ones. I've almost got all the costumes. Just got to save up more pennies to get the rest of them. As you can probably see here, you know, me just talking through most of this, you can tell that I really, really like this game. You can see that I've had a hell of a lot of fun with it, in a style of Mario that I generally don't enjoy. So let's just look on the flip side. Let's look at the things I don't like, and then I want to move on to what my real topic here is, what I would like from Mario from now on, or, you know, what I want to see in the next one. And also defend 3D World, because that game is getting a lot of crap at the moment for no good reason. So first off, let's talk about the things I don't like about it. The sandbox style of Mario game I do not enjoy that. When I look at the Mario games and I think about Mario, I think of really well crafted levels that involve tough platforming, power-ups that aren't in this game, which is mind-boggling that there aren't any power-ups in this game. But the idea that, you know, I'm playing a Mario game, he starts, you know, at a point, he has to get to the flag or wherever, and the level I'm doing is designed around either a gimmick, it's either, you know, a stroller level or an airship or, you know, all these different themes and stuff. And I really appreciate that in the Mario games. Like, I like loading up a level knowing that it's always the same, and it's always like, my goal is to get to the end of this level, and the challenge comes in the platforming and the enemy placement and all that kind of stuff that you see in Mario Brothers, well, all the 2D Mario Brothers actually, that you are starting a level and playing through it and completing it, and you'll know if you like it or not because you'll enjoy the gimmick that's in that level. You know, whether it, like I said, if it's an airship or fortress or swimming level or whatever. And you collect the power-ups along the way and they help you out. You know, Free and World do this wonderfully. The fact that there are less levels in this game as well, it sucks. Yes, you have these giant playgrounds, and yes, you can go into like pipes and doors and stuff that take you to other areas that let you play in these small areas to collect moons and stuff, and they are fun, but I would rather take 8 worlds with like 10 levels each. Smaller levels maybe, you know, that take a few minutes or however long they take, you know, that get progressively challenging over the sandbox style of Mario game any day. I know people like this idea of open world Mario, but I still just think that Mario works better in the point-to-point gameplay. That was my last point. Less direction. This is what this game has. It has less direction. Once you've completed the main story, which is about 1/4 of the game, it gives you 3/4 to go out and get the rest of the moons and collect stuff, and that is wonderful. The fact that, you know, you're basically running around in this sandbox, if you don't know what you're doing, there are obviously hints and stuff that you can get, and it will help you out to point you in the right direction for things, and you know, you just generally have a good fun time playing it. I don't really want that from a Mario game. I want to be able to play a Mario game that is more focused, is more about platforming, like 3D World, like 3D Land, you know, 2 3D games that are 3D Mario games that are focused on starting a level and finishing a level, and shows that you can do it in a 3D environment. And this is something that's really bugging me, because people bash on 3D World and they say it's a good game, it's a good solid game. 3D World is a fantastic game, and it takes Super Mario Bros. 3 and puts it in a 3D style gameplay for the most part, and adds these wonderful like levels. That game is basically what I want Mario to be. Like, I don't want it to be that specific game every time, but I want it to be nice, fun visuals in some really creative levels while trying to get to the end of a level. You know, I don't need Mario to be more complex than that. Sure, having a sandbox style, people enjoy that because it makes it for a different experience. I get it. You know, people want to play something a bit different. They don't want to play that standard sort of formula. But that's why you have things like Zelda. That's why you have other games that are open world. I think, for me, I am in the minority when I say that I think the 2D Mario style of gameplay is far superior to the 3D Mario games. Even Galaxy, which is way more linear, and same with 3D World, I would rather play, you know, like, if Galaxy was more like 3D World, I'd love it even more. You know, I do love Galaxy. It's a good game, but it's still a bit too much openness to it. When I play Super Mario Bros. 3, when I play the first one, when I play World, you know, those games, the reason why I have so much fun with them is because I know the levels, I know the themes of the levels. You know, when I start it, I know that my goal is to get to the end of it, but like, you know, the challenge comes in getting to the end of it. Whereas with the 3D ones, it'll go here, get this moon or get this star, and there's multiple ways to get there, but it also means that you're lacking that kind of well-designed level that you would normally get in a Mario game, and that sucks. To be honest, I want to see less of that and more of crafted design that Nintendo have done in the Mario games in the past that make it so much fun. Those are the things I have a problem with the game with. It's not, the game itself is amazing. Like, I can't knock it because I've had a lot of fun with it. I've put 40 hours into this game already. I haven't put it down. I have not got bored playing it, so that speaks volumes to it. But I just want a different design philosophy for Mario games. For me personally, I need to have more traditional Mario games, or the gameplay style, to enjoy those games a lot more than this. My final thoughts are this, and I want to talk about also what I want to see in the future from the next Mario game. I do love this game. I think this game deserves to be on every Game of the Year list. This might not be like Nintendo's best Mario game ever. Like, I don't know whether it'll be on the, you know, on the lists of #1 best Nintendo game of all time, but it's definitely going to be in the top 5, top 10. From now on, because it is that good, and I've had an absolute blast with it, and I plan on getting all 800 and something moons, but you can get a bit further on beyond that, collecting all of them and getting the very final things that I want before I properly put this game down. Along with that, I want to think about what Nintendo does next with Mario, because we're obviously going to get another Mario game for this system. how well Odyssey is done and how well it is sold is quite incredible. It's done really well. We know it's going to sell even better now with Christmas coming up. But I want to look forward to what they plan on bringing next. Like, what do I want next? I want a Mario that is more in line with 3D World. They can do stuff different. I don't mind if you have different mechanics in the game, but what I want is levels, individual levels, rather than open world. I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, I want to play a game where I load up a level, the level is a really well designed level. I don't care what you do in it, as long as I'm starting a level and ending it. I don't want to go on a wild goose chase for like 20 different coins to, you know, in a more linear, non-linear style. Linearity isn't a bad thing. Like, having linearity in some games is actually really fun. It's nice to know that you have an endpoint to a level. So I just want Nintendo to... I hope Nintendo continue to do what they have done in the past and sort of do 3D and 2D Mario games. But if they do decide to go with more 3D prevalent games, then I hope that we do get the mixture of styles. I hope that the next Mario game, if it's 2 to 3 years down the line for the Switch, is more in line with that linear style of gameplay of starting the level, ending the level. And I've said it a lot now. Or even if they add like DLC or expansion packs to Odyssey, which I don't know whether they will. But if they do like stuff that's like more level based and more challenge based like that in the game, that would be fun. Because the challenges and stuff are some of the best bits of the game, trying to get to. But again, that becomes a point A to point B gameplay. That's how I feel about Super Mario Odyssey. Like, it's blown my mind in a lot of ways. It is a lot of fun. It doesn't live up to what I want in a Mario game in terms of like, I want that more linearity style, but the game is still amazing. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I still plan on carrying on getting all of the moons. We will see what Nintendo does in the future with this series, because I mean, they keep innovating and it's doing them wonders. And you know, if people buy this game, then they're obviously gonna want to make more sandbox style Mario games, which kind of sucks. But like, you know, if they're gonna be good, like if someone gave me this game, you know, as my first Mario game, I wouldn't be disappointed. It is a lot of fun. So that's it for me today. Like, I hope you've enjoyed me listening to this. I do apologise if I've spoiled anything for anyone. That's just the nature of this game now, talking about it a few weeks out. Like, it's about time I did a video on this. Just thank you very much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing to it. Obviously, please hit like and subscribe. That always helps us out. And we've got plenty more videos for you coming. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.